is معرفة كلام الله طبقا للواقع. It's to understand the knowledge of, and as a way of drawing near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you understand, that's the benefit that is derived from the science itself. The benefit. The benefit is to know, when I read the Quran, Yasin, wal Quran al-Hakim, I know what Quran al-Hakim means. And the benefit of that is that I understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to me. Now, if I know, when we get into the Masail, I'll do that when I get there. But and then the next is وَفَضْرُهُ. The fadl of the Quran, وَفَضْرُهُ نِسْبَةٌ وَالْوَاضِعٌ. The fadl is the virtue of the science itself. There's different sciences have different virtues. For instance, grammar is a beautiful science. It's one of the most important sciences because without it you can't understand classical languages. English is not a grammatical language. It has a grammar. It has a grammar, but it's not a grammatical language in that you do not need to know its grammar to understand it. It's very easy to learn Arabic, to learn English and communicate in English, and you're going to have miscommunications, but you can understand it without knowing, because it's not an inflected language. So if I say Akada Musa Kusa in Arabic, I have to understand Musa as a person and Kusa as a food, because the inflection of that sentence, it could be the zucchini ate Moses. That could be the meaning. If Kusa is marfu' and Musa is mansub. But I don't know that because the harakat don't show up. That's the way English is. So there's room for ambiguity in English in terms, but English follows a syntax. English doesn't let you say the cucumber ate Musa and it means Musa ate the cucumber. In Arabic you can say the cucumber ate Musa, but you can mean Musa ate the cucumber. Do you see the difference? Because the syntax in Arabic, the structure of the language is very flexible. You can put the verb at the end. You can put the verb at the beginning. You can put the verb in the middle. In English, you put it in the beginning or the middle. In German, you put it at the end. There's a Jewish theory that that's why they were able to do what they were doing, because they don't think about the action until the end of their sentence. So language there's a lot of problems that happen in communication. Now, if you look at knowing i'rab, you have to know grammar. Arabs, modern Arabs, they can read a newspaper, but if you forced most modern Arabs to read it with the ashkal, they'd be all over the place. In fact, the Arabs say, alhanu min qari. He's making more mistakes than somebody reciting from a book. Meaning that it's very easy to make mistakes in Arabic. I mean, even ulama who really know Arabic very well make grammatical mistakes sometimes. Really. It just happens. And it's rare. One of the few people I ever saw that I never heard him make a mistake grammatically was Shaykh Mustafa al-Makki. He was an Egyptian Azhari that I used to go listen to him do commentary on the hadith, and it was just, people used to go just to hear him talk. There were people there that really weren't even interested in the lecture. I think they were just like, it's amazing. Just the way he talks. Allah yarhamuhu. Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayya is like that also. So there are Shaykh Sa'id Ramadan al-Buti. I mean, these people are like maraja in Arabic. If you listen to them, and they've spent, but still, you get into these books and you will find that they can misunderstand things. Many times Arabs know that when you read a sentence, sometimes you have to go back to the beginning because you worked out that, oh, what you thought was actually the subject was the object. So you get back and you have to go back and read it again. So it's a grammatical language in that it doesn't allow you to understand it without having either intuitive knowledge of grammar, which is how the pre-Islamic Arabs had it, and the early Arab Muslims, or to later on to learn it. And that's the way we have to do it now. You have to learn grammar to be able to read it properly. And so that the fadl of Arabic is that grammar has fadl. My point was grammar has a great virtue, but it's low in the Islamic sciences. It's the one you have to start with. Like one of the little phrases I learned early on was أهمها عقائد ثم فروع تصوف وآلة بها الشروع. You know, this is like tartib of knowledge. The most important knowledge, أهمها عقائد, is to learn your aqidah. And then فروع, to learn like the practical things to do in your religion. تصوف, to work on purifying your heart. And then آلة بها الشروع. And then a tool that you have to begin with, which is Arabic grammar. So even though it's the least of the sciences, all of them are based on it. العربية مفتاح العلوم. العربية مفتاح العلوم. It is the key to knowledge in our religion. If you don't know Arabic, you do not have access to knowledge in the same way that somebody. There's secondary sources, and you meet people that are very learned about Islam. So you can't say that somebody can't understand Islam without understanding Arabic. I don't believe that. But to get into the sciences of Islam, you have to learn Arabic. And certainly these primary sources, because they'll be until the end of time in Arabic. The Quran cannot be translated. It can't. And in reality, no real great literature can be translated. It just doesn't work. Anybody who knows two languages and has read a piece of great literature in both languages, they know the original is always better. If they really know it. Because you can't. And language is too nuanced. So that is, and then nisbatun, the nisba is what the science is related to. Like طب is نسبته إلى العلوم التي تتعلق بصحة ومرض البدن. It's a science that's related to the health and disease of a body. That's the relationship. Tafsir نسبته إلى علوم الشرعية. It is in fact أفضلها وأعلاها. It's the highest and most exalted of all the sciences of Sharia. So this is its relationship to other sciences, is that. And then al-wadi' is the one who first formulated the science. It's important to know that because those people have fadl. They have virtue. And so classically, the scholars always honored the one who came with the science first. Like Imam al-Shafi'i was honored by being the founder of usul al-fiqh. That does not mean that the ulama weren't using usul before Shafi'i. They were. He was the one that saw what they were doing and articulated the methodology and theory. Nobody had done that before him. In the same way that Aristotle is the inventor of logic, but he wasn't the first person to ever use logic. People were using logic. Plato and Socrates are filled with Aristotelian. In fact, Aristotle uses most of his examples from Plato and Socrates. But he was the one that identified what they were doing, the formula. So tafsir has been going on from the very beginning. The Prophet was explaining the Quran. The ulama differ on who really is wadi' at-tafsir. Most of them say ar-rasikhun fil ilm. They're the ones Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the Quran that it has two types of ayahs. The clear ayahs and the hazy ayahs. And then it says, you know, that the people who have diseases in their heart follow the hazy ayahs, which is always a sign that somebody's not well. If they ask you what certain verses mean, and they're hazy verses, it's always a sign that something's going on. But Allah says, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ يَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا. You know, the people firmly rooted in knowledge. And it says, وَلَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلَهَا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Nobody knows the ta'wil except Allah of these hazy verses. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Some of the ulama say the wow there is called atf. It's a conjunction. And so it's actually saying Allah knows them and the rasikhun fil ilm, and then stop. And others say no, the wow is actually isti'naf. The sentence stops at la ya'lamu ta'wiluha illa Allah, that only Allah knows the ta'wil, and the rasikhun fil ilm say about that, we accept it. It's all from Allah. So there's a difference of that wow in tafsir. But Imam Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu said, وَأَنَا مِنَ الرَّاسِخِينَ. he actually said, I'm from amongst the rasikhin who know the ta'wil of the Quran, because the Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma faqihu fi ad-din wa 'allimhu ta'wila. Faqihu fil Quran wa 'allimhu ta'wila. Teach him the Quran, the meanings of Quran, and teach him how to do interpretation of the Quran. So he was from those people. So this is a khilaf that's been going on for a long time. وَكُلُّ نَصٍ أَوْهَمَ التَّشْبِيهَ أَوْوِلْهُ وَأَوْفَوِّضْ وَرُمْ تَنْزِيهَ. There's ulama that say you can interpret everything in the Quran, and then there's other ones that say, except even the huruf al-muqatta'at, they have meanings that they say relate to those words. And they say that it's open as long as you have the adawat. If you have the tools of knowledge, right, then you can make that tafsir or ta'wil. If you don't, you can't. So Ibn Abbas is also, some say that he is the first real mufassir of the Quran, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And if Ibn Abbas said something, it has a lot of authority amongst the ulama just because of who he is. And then the important thing is to determine, did he actually say it? Is the sanad sound or not? But generally, Ibn Abbas is after the Prophet ﷺ. If Ibn Abbas says something about the Quran, he has a position amongst the ulama, the mufassirun, that is very high. And then al-ism is ilm tafsir, and it's also ta'wil, right? Because tafsir and ta'wil have synonymous meanings. Some of the ulama say no, that tafsir is what the words mean, like al-Quran. It's from qara'a, and the root is jama', to gather something, and it's the gathering of these words. Some say that it's غير mushtaq, it's its own word. It just means al-Quran, it's the name, like Allah. Some say Allah is not from al-ilah, it's just Allah. That's the proper name of God, and Allahu alam what it means. So these are differences, but if you know the differences, then that's also a type of knowledge of the meaning of the actual articulation. Al-Hakim is from hakama, which is to control something, to judge something, to be wise. Hikmah is wisdom. Hukm is judgment. Hakam is a judge. So Al-Hakim is the one, and then it's on a certain wazn that means fa'il and it means maf'ul. So it can be the thing that is judged, or the thing that is perfect, muhkam. It's complete in its, there's a perfection to it, and it can also be the wise. So generally it's interpreted here as the wise Quran, al-dhikr al-hakim, that it's wise. So that is knowing the tafsir, if you know the meanings. But then the ta'wil is, those are the denotations. If you want a word that's used in lexicology, a denotation is what the word specifically means. The connotation are the meanings that are possible, that are derived from that basic meaning. So when I say, for instance, hand, in English, this is a hand. But I also say, lend me a hand. I don't mean cut off your hand and I can borrow it. Like, lend me a hand. I'm asking you for help. So a connotation of hand can be help. You can also say, his hand is more powerful than his hand. Now I'm talking about power. You can say, I've got to hand it to him. Right? I mean, there's lots of ways that hand can be used. In Arabic, there's literally, there's about 17 meanings for hand. In Dasht, which is Farsi, like Imam al-Ghazali said about people that were translating Quran into Farsi, he said you should never translate Yadullah into Dasht Khoda. Because he said if you say Dasht in Farsi, he said it doesn't mean the same things it means in Arabic, so you're delimiting the meaning, which he said is unjust to the Book of Allah. It's a problem with translation, because Arabic meanings are very vast. So that is, ta'wil and tafsir are the names, but it's usually ilm al-tafsir is the name that's given for this science. And then al-istimdad, where does the science draw its knowledge from?